The 6 months in court taught me a lot. It was a crash course in company law, it was a crash course in accounts, it was a crash course in everything that involved the business aspect of a creative field. When I began my life 25 years ago, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. My life has been the most unplanned journey of my life. And all I knew was I wanted to do something with my life. And as a youngster, being so confused, I decided to go to LA with a friend of mine who was actually going to LA to do a course in gemology. And when I landed in LA that day, I was in a shock because gemology is the study of the chemical, optical, physical properties of 99 minerals and their gemstone varieties. And to someone like me, who's this creative person, science, maths being the worst subjects in school, I was completely perplexed. And I think that was my first shock as to what had I signed up for without knowing. But that didn't deter me, and I ended up studying every day of my life while I was in LA. That helped because I actually topped my class with a 97%. And that's when I decided that I can change anything that is against me in my favor if I just put in that much of an effort. And so I followed that up with jewelry design, and I came back to India in 1993, all eager-eyed to begin my journey into the world of design, jewelry design. Of course, at that time, there was a lot of curious people who wanted to know who was I, because I came from a Bollywood family, and they expected me to join Bollywood, and here I joined jewelry. A lot of critics of mine said that, it was easier for me to be who I am because I came from a Bollywood family. But that's not true, because I believe that when I started off, yes, there was a curiosity to see what I do. And so people walked in through the door to see my work. But the fact that they came back was only because they liked what they saw. And being the kind of person who I am, because all my life, right from the time I was a child, I was always someone who was very curious and someone who always wanted to do the best of what I did. So even when I was in my jewelry design class, if I didn't get one assignment right, I would do it maybe 7 or 8 times. And I remember my professor, Robert Arndt, telling me that I reminded him of the tiger because I had the tenacity of a tiger. I never gave up till I got it right. And I think that tenacity of mine is what has helped me overcome my failures and made them into successes. So my failures have always been stepping stones to success in my life, and success has been the culmination of all my failures that has actually made me who I am. When I came back to India, my dad looked at me and said, I've given you an education now, and that's my legacy to you, and I want you to build your own life, because I made my own life, and I want you to build your own life. So he very clearly told me that he's not going to fund me, and I have to build my own life. And for someone who was used to a very cushioned life, I would say that this was an amazing opportunity for me to really prove to my parents that I had it in me to be the person I wanted to be. And so the next couple years of my life, I ended up working with various jewelers, right from 1993 till the year 2004, when I first launched the Farah Khan brand. That was a turning point in my life, because I realized that what I did had an audience, and people were interested in knowing about my work and in acquiring my work. I would say that when I first started out in 1993, because a lot of people do assume that I came from a Bollywood family, it was easier for me. I think to those people, I want to say that yes, the curiosity is always there to see what you can offer. But once they walk through the door, if they're coming back, it's because I had something I was offering them. So overall, it was a lot of passion that drove me to be who I am today. Having no recourse to my father's funds, once I was back in 1993, I decided that now I have to do this on my own. And you must understand, here I was, fresh out of college, a youngster, attempting to get into the jewelry market, having no knowledge of it whatsoever except the academic knowledge, which isn't really what is going to get you through in life. And so I decided that the first thing I need to do is apprenticeship with various jewelers to learn the trade, because the business aspect is something that nobody teaches you. You learn while you work with someone. And so I ended up working with various jewelers like Tribhuvandas Bhimji Zaveri, Anmol, Mahesh Notandas, and various other jewelers, where I actually ended up gaining experience on the field. In the year 2004, I launched the Farah Khan brand officially, and it was a big high for me, because it was a realization of the fact that people appreciated my work and wanted to acquire it. And I wanted to be more organized as a designer, so I thought the best thing to do was to launch the brand. I launched the brand on Feb 11, 2004 with a fashion show with lots of Bollywood celebrities who were friends of mine, who actually walked the ramp for me. And the collection was very, very successful, and people well, all of a sudden the jewelry industry started looking up at me and wondering that, who is this person who's just entered the jewelry field and is, getting all this attention her way. For me, at that point, of course, I was very happy to get that kind of attention from not only my customers, but from the trade. But I also realized that the trade is a place where it is cutting throat. They're not very happy to welcome someone into the jewelry field. And so I had a lot of experiences in this journey of mine that made me wiser, made me stronger, and made me realize that the jewelry industry is an industry which is based on trust, but people can take advantage of your trust, and people can mislead you in various aspects. From the year 2004 to 2009, I ended up working with various jewelers, learning on the trade experiences. Some were good experiences, some were bad experiences, and what I learned from this entire journey was that people are not very open about teaching you the trade. You have to learn it yourself. What I also learned is that if anyone can make a profit out of you without your knowledge, they will. So it's very important not to trust everyone you meet openly, because at the end of it, this trade is such that there's money involved, there's gold involved, there are precious gemstones involved, and if you're too trusting, people will take advantage of that. So that's one big lesson I learned. Saying that, in the year 2009, I decided that enough of showcasing my jewelry with various jewelers, and it was time that I actually opened my own store. So in the year 2010, almost 17 years from the time I began my journey as a designer, I opened my first store in Bombay, where I actually partnered with a friend's cousin who was a manufacturer at that point to make jewelry and to retail. I needed partners because I had no funding of my parents, and I needed to the kind of work that and the kind of investment that is required in this jewelry industry is very immense. It's not a cheap industry. A lot of money's involved, and so I sold 50% of my brand to my manufacturing partner, and we decided that he would manufacture, I would design, and I would market and retail, and he would manufacture and overlook my accounts. That journey from 2010 lasted till 2013, when we did very well for the first 3 years. And then I realized that something was amiss, because my manufacturing partner was going through some financial problems of his own, and so he couldn't pump the monies that we were making back into the business. So I went up to him and I told him that I needed to split, because it wasn't working for us. And he didn't take it very kindly, and he took me to court. He took me to court for 6 months in a legal litigation that changed my entire life. That was May 2012, actually, when I went to court. And for one moment, it shattered my life, because I was a designer. I didn't know anything about company law. I didn't know about accounts. I didn't know about the legal issues of the business, because all this while I had lived all my life just being this carefree soul who was a designer by profession. And the 6 months in court taught me a lot. It shook my ground, and at that point I thought, I looked at, when I used to pray to God, I'd say, why God? Why me? What have I done to you? And now when I look back at it, it was the best thing that happened to me. It was such a learning that I thank God for it. And because it was a crash course in company law, it was a crash course in accounts, it was a crash course in everything that involved the business aspect of a creative field. And but at the end of those 6 months, I had to restart my life, because we had an out-of-court settlement, and I lost everything I made, because I had to buy him out to be able to use my brand, because he had put a litigation on me that I would not be able to use my brand without him. I would say the best thing that happened to me was this court case, because in the year 2013, I opened my own manufacturing unit, with the help of my parents. I actually went up to them and I said, you need to help me a little bit. So I borrowed money from my dad on interest, because I believe that one should not take your parents for granted. If you're going to use their money, you should think of it as a bank loan, and that's what I did. I borrowed some money from my father on interest. I borrowed money from a bank, and I restarted my life, where I set up a manufacturing unit. And I still had stars in my eyes, because I'm one of those people that even if I'm down and out, I don't give up. I always believe that something good is going to come out of everything that goes wrong your way. So for me, failure has always been a stepping stone to success. And I believe that if there was no failure, we would never be the best of who we are. Saying that, in the year 2014, I actually landed my contract with Tanishq, the retail giant of jewelry in the Indian market, for a period of 2 years. And I strongly believe that if I didn't have my factory, and I would not have had Tanishq that came to me. So it was good that the litigation happened, and it was good that I started my own factory, and then I started co-branding with Tanishq, a Tata company, for 2 years in the name of Farah Khan for Tanishq. And that to me was a great learning experience, because from someone who started off as a young jewelry designer and climbed my way working with jewelers, and having my own brand, and now working at a corporate level, was an amazing change in my life, and I believe that all this wouldn't have happened if I didn't have the failures in my life, and every failure was a stepping stone to success. So if you ask me what is success to me, success to me is a chain of all the failures that have happened to me, that I have overcome, and it's a celebration of all my achievements. That's what success means to me. But I would also say to you that success to me is not something that is constant. I believe that it's ever changing, and as someone who's driven and passionate about what I do, I believe that it's very important to keep having different goals and keep changing and climbing higher and higher. So success to me is having a direction and making sure you never quit and you always go for it. So when I first started out as a jewelry designer, like I said before, this industry is very closed, because they're families who originate from years. They're like, jewelry families, and they're not very open about their trade because they want to pass it on to their children and their children. So nobody was very open about how it works. I had to literally work my way, learning the ropes along the way. So I had to work with the babus to understand how a product was made. I had to work with factories to understand how they charged for a certain product, what was the quality control. All these things were learnings on the way, and of course learning from your customer and learning from the retailer about pricing, because pricing is still a very, very big secret in this industry. Though we are transparent when we sell jewelry, but we don't want to teach someone else to do the pricing, because when you teach someone else to do that, it's like getting competition with you. So those were the challenges that I had as a person. Also, when I was starting out, people will replicate your design, will copy, will profit out of it without your knowledge. Important to trademark your work, copyright it, so that nobody ever does that, because that's what I have done. I've always copyrighted my work and protected it. And even though today I'm one of India's most copied designers, whenever I have got to know that someone is copying me, we have served them with legal notices and recovered monies for it. So I would say, if you're starting out as a jewelry designer and you're looking at being someone successful, learn to protect your work, because it's really important. People often ask me, why did you become a jewelry designer? How did you become so successful? What is it about your work that people talk about? And the first thing I ask people when they ask me that, especially designers or students who want to be jewelry designers, I say, why do you want to be a jewelry designer? What is it that drives you? And to me, when someone asked me that question, I only had one reason to be who I am. I think it was passion. I believe that whatever you do in life, you have to be in love with what you do. And whether it's, designing jewelry, whether it is cooking to me, whether it is reading a book, whether it is driving a car, whatever I do, I'm passionate about it. And I think the greatest strength of me as a designer has been the passion that I bring to my work, the passion and integrity that I bring to my work, because I'm not just trying to sell people one piece of jewelry. I'm hoping to build a lifetime, a relationship that lasts a lifetime, because to me that's more important. Money has never been my driving force. My driving force has been relationships. My driving force has been transparency. My driving force has been doing everything with a clear conscience. And I think that's what drives me, the passion to create beautiful pieces of jewelry that go down time and become precious with and more priceless. I have faced a lot of failures in my life, but I'm not someone who is afraid of failure. I think it also stems from my childhood, because my father had this horrible accident and he almost died in the year 1989, a fire accident. And in spite of all the odds, where the doctors even told us that they would amputate his hands, and if we wanted him to live, we would need to amputate his hands or he's going to be dead. My father fought back, and against all the odds, he survived a very horrible accident where he was burned 65% with third-degree burns. As a child, seeing that in my own family and seeing my father never give up made me realize that failures are just short pauses in our life. They're not going to be there forever. They're going to pass, and we should not react to them so much, because to me, like I said, a failure is a learning situation, and I've always been someone who has taken that failure and changed it into a successful example, you know. Saying that, yes, it's important to talk about your failure, because you inspire people when you talk about your failure. There are lots of people who go through lots of issues every day in their lives. Some of them are very depressed and they don't know how to cope with it. But I always ask people to talk about their failures, and I always tell them about mine, because when you look at someone else's life, you only look at the good part and you don't know what's going on at the back. And it's important to know that that person is where that person is because of the struggle that made that person. And I would advise each one of you to talk about your failures and become inspiring to someone else, because no matter how big or how small you are, one story of yours that where you've overcome failure can inspire someone and maybe change another person's life. So yes, talk about your failures for sure. To all the students who want to join jewelry and don't know where to begin, I would say one is know your priorities. Why are you joining the line? Is it because you love creating? Is it because you love what you're doing, or are you joining it because you think it's glamorous, or it's something where you're going to make lots of money? Because whenever you think you're going to do something because it's going to reward you monetarily, it's not going to last you long. If you make what you love your profession, you will always be happy. Another advice I would give students is to work with reputed companies, get internship, experience on the ground, work with companies that are doing a lot more, various aspects, not just something that is driven by one agenda, one direction. Because it's important when you work with a company, you should be able to be exposed to different markets, different product developments, all of this. So the more experience you gain in the jewelry industry by working with various jewelry companies, that would be your best learning, more than just your institutes where you graduate from, because those are your learning schools. I would also say is to open your minds, look around, gain inspiration. Do not copy, because that's not inspiration, but create your own unique identity, your own language, your own signature, because that's what we designers do. And rest, I would say, be extremely ethical about what you do, because this trade is a very trusting trade, and if you're not ethical about it, your reputation will go, and then nobody will touch you. I also realized that just because I'm a positive person, it doesn't mean that everyone has to be as positive as I am. And there are lots of people who are coping with various emotional issues and dealing with failures in their life. I would say to those people that one is to please talk about it to someone you trust. It's very important, because when you trust someone and you discuss your failures, they can help you. Somebody like a parent, like a friend, maybe a boss, someone who's positive. Important to talk to someone who's positive, because a pessimist is not going to be able to help you. Secondly, I would also say that in order to overcome failure, first look after yourself. It's important to look after your health, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, because when we are healthy in all these three aspects, it's easier to deal with stress in our lives. So sleep well, do not have lack of sleep, very important, because lack of sleep actually contributes to stress. Adopt an exercise regime which is doable. You don't have to run a marathon, but you need to do something where you keep fit. That's very important. And diet, what would you eat? Because all this, unknown to people, contributes to your well-being. And when it contributes to your well-being, if you're not well, you're not going to react to anything positively in your life. And any little problem is going to stress you out and make you anxious and get anxiety. So it's important to look after yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. So that would be my advice to all of you coping with stress. So whenever I have had failure in my life, or whenever I'm actually in a challenging situation, like kind of stressful, believe it or not, I go back to what my mother said to me. She always says to me, think of someone who doesn't have as much as you have and feel blessed. And I actually do that because, we always complain of what we don't have, and we always complain of why this happened to me, but we seldom are grateful for what we are blessed with and what we do have. And believe it or not, when I actually take that moment, take 5 minutes or 10 minutes to thank the universe or thank God for what I'm blessed with, even though I'm going through the most stressful period of my life at that point, that stress seems so less. I all of a sudden feel happy. And I also realize that when I don't react so much to a stressful situation in my life, it actually passes by. And the moment I give it too much of a reaction, I empower it. And when I empower it, it's not going to go away. So asking me that question, I would say that yes, in many ways, I am this spiritual person, and I believe that our lives are written the time we're born, the time we die, and the journey is also written. So if I'm to reach from here to there, I will reach from here to there. I may not be able to change my journey, but I can change the way I react to it. So example, if you're meant to go to work and you're in a car and you meet with an accident, you can actually complain and scream at the driver and shout and say, you banged my car and I'm late for work. Or you can say, thank God, nobody died. My car is fine. I did die. And feel grateful about it. So if you adopt the grateful aspect of it, you will have a better day. But if you get angry with your driver or angry with yourself, you're going to have a horrible day. So it's so important to look at the brighter picture. So each time you feel depressed, each time you feel like you failed, or each time you feel there's stress in your life, please take a moment to be grateful for what you have, because there's someone who doesn't have what you have, and feeling grateful about it can actually lift your spirits and make you feel better about handling that situation. I think this initiative of Failing It Up is amazing, because it actually gets you to talk to real people who've have had real issues in their life, who've also failed, and are now inspiring other people to realize that everyone has a journey, and every journey has ups and downs. If you don't have the downs, you can't appreciate the ups. So it's important to talk about it, and I'm so happy to be a part of this, where I hope I am able to inspire those who need a little bit of encouragement to know that this too shall pass, because it all does eventually. You're not alone, and there are lots of people in this world who are actually going through issues, stressful issues, and who take those stressful issues and make them positive and change the world with those. To all the viewers who are failing it up, I just want to say, life is about ups and downs. If there were no downs, there wouldn't be ups. If there are no ups, there wouldn't be downs. Just like without light, you won't appreciate the day. Without light, you won't appreciate the day. So you need to have no light to appreciate the day. And it's important to have failure to be your stepping stone for success. So I'll give you an example before I go. Recently, I asked someone to design some furniture for me, and the team didn't do such a great job, and so I decided to do it myself. And because that team didn't do such a great job, I actually ended up doing a very good job. So don't think when somebody says no, and if something is a stopping block in your direction, maybe it's a way of you moving left or moving right. You have to decide that it's not a blockage or a stoppage in your life. Is not failure. It means you need to change your direction to get to where you want to go. And that to me is being successful.